treacherous winds and shimmering heat have combined to make the King of 2 Miles marksmanship competition a challenge like no other. 50 of the best extreme long-range shooters in the world have come to test their skills, but so far, only one has qualified for the final round. Today, 4 others try to qualify for a spot in the finals. Welcome to the King of 2 Miles, presented by Applied Ballistics, coming to you from the NRA Whittington Center in Raton, New Mexico. I'm Ted Jones. Joining me today will be Paul Phillips. Let's take a look at the qualifying format right here. Qualifying on target number 1, you're allowed 5 shots. Then, as you can see on targets 2, 3, and 4, you only get 3 shots. Here's the catch, though. If you miss on any one of those targets hitting it, you're out of competition. Let's take a look at those targets. Target number 1, 1,550 yards, not quite a mile. The target's only 24 inches by 37 inches, about 2 to 3. Target number 2, 1,700 yards. We move further out, and that can be very difficult. Almost a mile. Target 3, you're over a mile. 1,890 yards, and the size of the target changes to 30 inches by 37, as it does on target number 4, which is 1,990 yards. Our expert analyst Paul Phillips will explain about the different bullets they use in this competition.
At King of 2 Mile this year, we got different calibers being represented. 50 caliber, 416, 408, 375, 338. All of those are good cartridges at extreme long range. They have their ups and downs and benefits. The 50 caliber rifles, known in the military for a long time usage, they have big old heavy bullets and they travel around 2,700 feet per second, all the way down to the 338 with a 300 grain burger, traveling about 2,900 feet per second. Today, you're going to have a lot of different philosophies on what works better, and we'll see who comes out on top.
Let's meet our first shooter. This is Chuck Garrison out of Binghamton, New York. He's going to try the cold bore gong shot. What is that, Paul?
The cold bore gong shot is an additional shot that was added to competition for fun, just to see how well people could have their elevation and windage to take one shot without any practice shots.
Yeah, that's a very small target he had to do, too. Here we go. This one counts. Target 1, shot 1, and a miss.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't adjust properly off that gong shot. They should have had a good 0 with that. Let's see if they can pick up the spot on this next one and make a hit.
He made an adjustment, and it worked out well, a hit.
Now that he's on target, he needs to have a sense of urgency and just keep rolling through these shots.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, friends, let me tell you. And it ain't broke.
Looks like he's a little low there. He just needs to favor high and let it go.
Well, there we saw the spotter. He hits number 4.
Yeah, those last 3 shots he shot were probably within about 8-10 inches. That was a good group.
And on that 5th shot, he had a miss right there. But hey, 3 out of 5, not bad. He'll move on to number 2. Let's look at the shot placement. You can see the 3 hits were all along the bottom there. But hey, they count. He gets to go to target number 2. And we'll do that right now.
So the other shooters you've been watching in the past, they weren't able to make the corrections to the next plate. As you notice, the first shot was low, so these elevations in ballistics have to be right on the point to make these hits. I mean, if you're not doing the ballistics properly, this is how crucial it is to make impacts at the second plate.
Another miss on shot number 2. He only has 1 more. Got to hit this one. Pressure's on.
This is where you just need to take a deep breath, relax, and a nice, slow trigger squeeze.
And, well, he did not do that because he missed 3 of them. 3 misses on target 2, you're out. We asked him, what do you think you did wrong?
A lot of times it's not good to play with your windage now too much. If you can see where you hit, like and the dust kicks up around the target, what you'll do is just using the reticle in your scope with your markings, you'll just hold off, because if you start playing with your windage, you're basically screwing yourself.
We'll take a pause from the competition to go to the Welcome Center and catch up with the curator who will tell us a little bit about the history of these high caliber collections.
This is a very custom handgun. It was built by the gentleman that actually brought it in and loaned it to us. It took him 4 years to build it. It's built on a Webley and Lamat type action. The Webley, because it's a break action, it actually breaks open like a Webley. And the Lamat comes in, you know, if you go back in your history books, the Lamat is a percussion revolver that fired both regular cap and ball plus a shotgun shell. This gun does the same thing, but only it's a modern metallic cartridge. It'll hold 12 rounds of .357 Maxim and one 28 gauge shotgun shell. The gun took 4 years for this gentleman to build, and it weighs 11 pounds. It's not exactly your grandma's purse gun.
Indeed, it's not. We'll take a break right now. When we come back, Dan Schmidtko. We'll have more of King of 2 Miles presented by Applied Ballistics.
The King of 2 Miles is being brought to you by Lapua Bullets, passion for precision. Blackstone with Graphene by IA Coatings, innovation without boundaries. And by McMillan Fiberglass Stocks, molding the way America shoots.
Welcome back to Raton, New Mexico, and the King of 2 Miles presented by Applied Ballistics. Our next shooter will be Dan Schmidtko from Morrisdale, Pennsylvania. His spotters will be Dervin Wick and Ronnie Wright.
Dan Schmidtko is the owner of Cutting Edge Bullets, and he won this event in 2015.
Ooh, first one is a hit. Boy, he's starting things off right.
Yeah, he had his elevation in the ballistics perfect. That first shot was only about 6 inches low.
Shot number 2 is a hit, and you'll notice how long it takes the bullet to travel that far, too.
Yeah, there's a little bit of time of flight there. These guys are rolling. They've done this before, and they understand how important it is to keep their tempo up.
3 out of 3. He's on a roll. Shot number 4 coming up.
Yeah, those last 3 shots were only with about 2 inches of elevation with all 3. So their elevation, they have that dialed in perfectly.
Oh, a miss right there. Looked like it was a little bit high, Paul.
Yeah, a little bit high. As a shooter, you have to make sure you're consistent with your positioning and your trigger control.
There you go.
Number 5 is a hit. That's 4 out of 5. Let's take a look at that shot placement. 5 barely made it on. 4 went over the top. But guess what? 4 out of 5 isn't bad. Breathing is very important, as he explained.
With most shooting disciplines, it's important to control your breathing. You know, don't hold your breath and don't tense your muscles. Try to be as relaxed as possible when you're on the line and behind the gun.
Okay, Dan, buddy, now it gets tough because there's a lot of guys that strike out right here on target number 2.
Yeah, these guys have done it before last year. They have a good handle on teamwork and what they need to have for their ballistics. Looks like he just hit this low. The spotter saw the call.
.4.
You can see Dan listening to him.
Yep. Yeah, both spotters saw the impact, and they adjusted .4 up. That should be a hit.
Hit.
Called it right, Paul. They got it.
Yeah, they just got on the bottom edge. Let's see if he might hold or if they're going to adjust up.
.1. Smitty. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys are seeing everything, as you can see.
Nope, a miss on that one. But doesn't matter. He hit one of them. That's all you got to do on target 2 is hit one of them, and you move on to target 3.
Okay, target 3, going to just past a mile.
Same win, Smith.
Like I said, they've done this before, and it's very crucial once you get at farther distances that the spotters really pay attention to these impacts because it gets harder and harder to see.
The first one is low. You can see right there in the lower right screen.
As you can see, it hit about 5 feet low on the rock.
Yep.
Now he got just a little bit high.
Down 2, Smith.
One more shot, one more try. The adjustment's very critical.
Yep.
Everything gets critical at these farther distances. You have to have everything perfect.
That's it. That's it.
And he missed the final third one, so he will be out of competition, missing target 3. We talked to him about what do you think was the major problem, Dan?
It's tough moving. You have to acquire the target, and then things end up changing, and we made some bad wind calls. But all in all, it is what it is. It's a competition.
We'll take a break. Our next shooter will be this man, David Tubb, as we continue coverage of King of 2 Miles, presented by Applied Ballistics. Welcome back to the King of 2 Miles, presented by Applied Ballistics. Here at the NRA Whittington Center's high-powered range is a monument dedicated to legendary shooter George Tubb, you see right there. His son David is about to compete.
David is probably one of the biggest icons in long-range shooting. He's won multiple championships in many different disciplines: high-power rifle shooting, silhouette, team challenge. He's just an amazing shooter. As you can see, first-round impact.
You don't know where I hit the gong. I can't tell.
Even with a world-class shooter, it takes a team to see those impacts. As you notice, he just missed over the top of the plate. So he's relying on the spotter to give him the information so they can put the holds in the center.
There's another hit. 2 out of 3. 2 more to go.
1 and 3.
Yeah, Dave Tubb's a perfectionist. He's done this for 40 years.
Where am I hitting it? Can't see it, David. 851
He's
and
probably
3.
one of the best in the world at competing at these long-range events. But again, the spotter needs to do his job to see the impacts for him to be successful.
Number 5, 4 out of 5. That's incredible on target 1. Let's take a look at exactly where those 4 hits were placed. 4 not far from the middle, only 1 over the top. This guy is incredible, as Paul's been explaining to us. We move on to target 2. Don't be surprised if this guy breezes right through that with his reputation.
You really have to pay attention as a spotter to get the exact impact point.
Well, he hit on the first shot.
Yeah, the spotter thought he hit it to the left, but it was actually down at 6 o'clock.
Same shot. 3.
That shot was about 3 inches from the last one.
He's telling him same shot. 2 so far.
All right.
Incredible. 3 out of 3. This guy is tough. Look at that. He'll be moving on now to the 3rd target.
Yeah, this is where it gets even more critical for the spotter. He really has to pay attention.
Okay, it was low and right. All right, let's hold 2.5.
You hear the spotter telling him what to change. And another miss.
You were on the right side of the target.
Let's go to 2.
Right third.
Go to 2. Okay. No ding.
As you notice on the screen, some of the impacts were not where the spotter thought they were.
Bottom line is he missed target 3. He is out of competition. We got a good crowd on hand. Paul has left the booth. Earlier, he caught up with Brian Litz of Applied Ballistics.
We have Brian Litz with Applied Ballistics. Brian, can you tell us about your company and what you have going on?
Yeah, so what we do at Applied Ballistics, Paul, is we kind of bring the science to the sport. The science of accuracy is our slogan, and that's really what we're all about. The science that it takes to decisively, repeatably put rounds on target. You know, there's very predictable things that happen as these bullets fly hundreds of yards. And we spend our days testing those things with live fire, building models of them so that shooters can predict accurate trajectories on a number of devices, you know, smartphone apps, SIG kilos, we've got the Kestrel weather meter, Garmin GPS has Applied Ballistics in it now, so a number of different devices you can pull up the same fire solutions on that is supported by the same library of measured ballistic data that will get you on target at a mile, even 2 miles like we're doing in this competition.
I understand you do seminars as well.
Yeah, we travel the country. We have a couple of seminars a year in different venues. We try to move it around. Here at the King of 2 Miles, we're doing a short informal clinic where we talk about our approach. It's a discussion really with the shooters that are here because there's always something to learn, right? We have practiced a lot and we bring a lot to the sport, but also there's a lot of information out there, and the whole spirit of the King of 2 Miles match is to learn and share information. So we're here to share what we know, learn what others know, and help the sport move together in a forward direction.
I know you're being humble, Brian, but we also know that You're heavily involved in the military and law enforcement to bring our soldiers and police officers home safely. So we appreciate all the hard work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. That's the ultimate objective. I mean, the shooting sports are fun and engaging, but if this information, this science can be used to help our fighting forces be more effective at their jobs and bring them home, then that's the ultimate calling that I could hope for.
Our next shooter will be a surprise shooter. That's right, none other than Paul Phillips himself when we return to Whittington Center and the King of 2 Miles presented by Applied Ballistics.
King of 2 Miles is being brought to you by Night Force Optics. Rugged, reliable, repeatable. Applied Ballistics LLC, the science of accuracy. And by Z-Max Micro Lubricant. Protect your gun from harmful buildup.
Welcome back to King of 2 Miles competition presented by Applied Ballistics. Now that surprise shooter we told you about, none other than our expert analyst, Paul Phillips. He'll have 2 fantastic spotters, Brian Litz and Emil Praslik. They are world-class win coaches for the U.S. rifle team. So Paul brought some heavy people with him. A miss on the first one. Now listen to the coaches.
Top edge of the plate.
Center top edge?
Center top edge.
Paul wants to make sure he understands, so he relays back to them, and they affirmed him he was right. Now they'll correct him again.
Hold 2 minutes high of center, Paul. 2 minutes high of center.
So that tells Paul what correction to make.
Same shot, 2 minutes high of center.
And it worked.
That was 1 minute high.
Paul, hold about a half minute left of center for win.
Shot number 4 a hit.
All right, how many shots is that?
One more.
One more.
They're telling me he has one final shot.
Same wind hold, Paul. Half minute left for win from center.
Okay, good job.
And it worked. 3 out of 5. The half minute, by the way, equals about 8 inches. I learned that from Paul Phillips. So there's his 3 hits. The 2 misses were both low. Puts that behind him. He moves to target number 2. This is the one that stopped a lot of these guys.
Half left?
Paul and his team, by the way, do use Applied Ballistic Solutions, which really helps. Like that right there, as he hits shot number 1 on target number 2.
Half high, half minute high.
They told him a half minute high. He'll adjust accordingly.
And center for win.
He wants to make sure he understands, so he repeats it back. Oh, barely missed that one.
Paul, hold half left for win.
And a half a minute high from center.
2 instructions. He follows both of them. It worked.
Thank you.
Another hit, 2 out of 3 on the second target. Right there's his score. Now he'll move on to target number 3, which is very difficult.
Hold center.
Over a mile away now. Notice the breathing. A deep breath for Paul. First one is a hit.
Center hold.
Now the time to hold the crosshairs in the center right now.
Paul, hold
A
just
second hit.
inside left edge.
Left side of the plate?
Yeah.
So he wanted to make sure he understood it. Repeat it back to him.
All right.
Oh, right in the middle, right on. 3 out of 3, folks, for target number 3.
Okay.
So we'll move on now to target number 4 to see if he does this, he's qualified for the finals.
Paul, wind's down a little. Hold just inside left edge, please.
Left edge of plate?
Yeah, just inside it.
Again, Paul wants to make sure he understands those instructions. So important, that communication, as he has taught us.
Left
He
edge
hit
again.
shot number 1. concentration. Shot number 2. Now, folks, if he hits the third one, no one has ever hit 3 out of 3 over a mile away on a target 4 situation. Look at the concentration. He's done it. 3 out of 3. Not only did he qualify, listen to the applause in the background. It's obvious Applied Ballistics Solutions worked very well for Paul. We asked him to critique his performance for us.
If you notice, my tempo was a little faster. So that was less time the wind had to move the bullet. So as you're shooting, you want to try to get that communication as quickly as possible with the shooter. And if the shooter has his ammo on track and his rifle on track in between the transitioning, it works out well. It's always a challenge to see the trace and the impacts. You have to see those to be able to adjust. So a couple of times I didn't see that apparently, and we just went ahead and went with what we thought. But it was a good run. I think fared pretty well today considering the conditions.
So out of 8 shooters, only 2 have qualified for the final. Of course, our own Paul Phillips is just barely behind Dan Polabo. Next week, we'll have more qualifying. We've got a lot more shooters to try it. Join us then. I'm Ted Jones for Paul Phillips. Thanks for watching, everyone. King of 2 Miles will continue next week, same time.